What you are about to see is a Farsight Deep News remote viewing session that was done totally blind by the remote viewer, where the target is 2 near-term but future assassination attempts that will be made against President Donald Trump. Please understand that we do not expect these assassination attempts to succeed or possibly even to be made. The reasons that we do these types of projects is both to better understand our world and to prevent such future events from happening. Our research at Farsight clearly establishes that we live in a universe where there are multiple timelines, or parallel realities. I have written about the science of how this is possible in my book, Remote Viewing, The Science and Theory of Nonphysical Perception, which has both physical and Kindle versions and is available on Amazon. Indeed, the primary reason that the United States military is interested in remote viewing is precisely to prevent certain types of events from happening. If remote viewers see things happening in the future, then that information is brought back to the present by the remote viewers, enabling things to be done to prevent those very things from happening, thereby establishing a new timeline. Without such information from the future, then there is nothing to stop such events from happening. It is with that idea in mind that we encourage you to watch this remote viewing session closely. There are 2 focuses with this project. The first focus is the next assassination attempt to be made on Donald Trump after January 1st, 2025. And the second focus for this project is the second next assassination attempt to be made on Donald Trump after January 1st, 2025. Now, you should understand that the United States intelligence services are constantly on the lookout for such types of events. While Farsight does not yet have millions of subscribers, we nonetheless know for certain that the U.S. intelligence services do watch our stuff closely, and they will take this session seriously, as well as the sessions done by our other remote viewers for this same target. We will publish all 4 sessions in the beginning of January 2025. Understand that the U.S. intelligence services do not communicate with us. They do not publicize any of their work, and we are not expecting any feedback from them. But let me assure you that the U.S. intelligence services really are the best that exist on this planet. Nothing escapes them, and they follow up every lead. So when we do something at Farsight, it helps. Our work also helps educate our worldwide audience in how remote viewing is done in such operational settings. Also, understand that such types of assassination attempts are unfortunately very common in our world today. So the 2 assassination attempts that are described in this session are not likely to be the only attempts made in 2025. This is why the work from our other remote viewers is important to see as well. Some of the events that are seen by the other viewers that participated in this project at Farsight will be the same events, but some will be different. So this project will not be exhaustive of all such assassination attempts, but it will catch many, and maybe most. Again, we will publish all of our sessions for this project soon in January 2025, both on FarsightPrime.com as well as YouTube. If you are new to remote viewing, please take a moment to subscribe to our streaming service, FarsightPrime.com, where you will find the largest high-quality public library of remote viewing projects that exists anywhere on the planet. It took us a great many years to construct this high-value library, and we normally add at least 2 new major projects to it each month. Much of what you learned in school about our world is simply incorrect. One day the record will be set straight on such matters, and the FarsightPrime.com library will be the primary source of information that will enable you and everyone else to know the truth about the world we all live in. But for now, without further ado, here is a remote viewing session that examines 2 major assassination attempts against President Donald Trump that reside in the near future. And again, We are expecting that the publication of this and related videos will aid in the prevention of these events from succeeding. The remote viewer for this session is Intysam.
Hi everyone, welcome to Deep News. Here we have Intysam. So, Intysam, how about we just jump right into this month's Deep News and just let us know your initial target perceptions.
Okay, so my initial target perception is of a base surface that's mostly level. I'm seeing man-made land, water. I don't know if it was maybe some ice or snow. I'm not entirely sure. There's something that smelled a little peculiar, like a chemical type smell. Multiple structures. I said that this was a town. Multiple subjects inside and outside. Hills. A few non-surface structures. I deducted drones because it was around the time where all the drones were coming out. So just had to get it out of my mind. There's dim light here. Overall, this is an urban environment with foliage, and I was picking up foliage as being the most dominant aspect of this environment. But yeah, lots of activity by subjects and objects and cool temperatures. And then in the next sketch, I have this what looks like a town or an urban environment with foliage, and then something mushy on the base surface, which I said that's probably water, ice or snow, and then a few non-surface structures. And then I continued with my perceptions, and then for this one, right off, I deducted New York because I was seeing this subject-shaped thing right at the forefront, which I drew right there. And it feels quite large. There's multiple structures off in the distance. There's a land-water interface with a water structure on top of it. So yeah, that's my second perception. And then I keep going with the perceptions. So for this one, I'm seeing man-made and natural land. So I'm getting foliage here. There's a puff of smoke or like atmospheric or something like that. And then the base surface feels soft and wet, as I depicted. Okay, my last perception was of a large open room. There's something large, a large smooth object with a pointy end to it. It's quite large, various subjects around it. That's what I had for my rapid perceptions.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to focus one. What did you start getting there?
Okay, focus one, I picked up lots of subjects. They're either inside or outside of a structure. The immediate area looks like an urban environment, and there's really tall structures. I deducted a skyscraper. There's multiple non-surface structures. It feels like something quite significant in the sky, or maybe it's the tall structure that's up there. There's a lot of movement coming from the subjects, high energy somewhere amidst the structures, and it feels like swirling energetics, but a watery, soft sensation to that energetics. And then I picked up something large moving through the urban area. I deducted a tank. My viewer feeling here was that something is the cause for anxiety. Okay, and then I did a sketch of this. So here you can see these tall structures, a non-surface structure all the way up there. There's this large thing moving through this area. And then I have these subjects and this something that's swirling right in the midst of the subjects. I don't know what it is.
Interesting. Okay, then you move to subject X.
Yeah. So, subject X, very light hues. That's my first thing that I see. The subject skin is quite light. White skin tone and hair color, so a lot of whiteness, hair and skin. A male subject, dressed well, looks like blue-hued formal clothing. This subject feels old to me. His skin looks wrinkly or saggy. His hair is thinning, posture is slightly hunched. The subject's surrounding seems to be indoor. The inside of the structure is mostly white hues with various furnishings. It looks nice, looks well kept, with like wooden style furnishings anyway, brown and white colors, and then a few subjects around them. And then there's that sketch of that subject.
All right, and at the target event?
Okay, moving to the target event, I'm still at focus 1. I'm seeing many subjects. There are distinct lines or rows, some activity or movement happening in the background. It feels like a push and pull of some subjects. I deducted the presidential inauguration. I feel some heat type energetics in one spot in this environment, some subjects surrounding it. Most of the subjects here look well dressed or well kept. Some subjects towards the edges of the environment are wearing black clothing, and they start to move. They start to move in, kind of like shadows, towards the center of this place. But this is a mostly open space with mostly subjects. Okay, so the next page is a sketch of it, right? There's this, what looked like a stage, raised platform. So a few subjects, subject X is right in the middle of that raised thing, right in front of a big structure. And then there are these rows of subjects. Somewhere in this environment, there's this tall thing, but it's like towards the back, like a structure. It's just tall. And all these structures in subjects in rows, and then these heat energetics somewhere in the midst of the subjects. And then you can see these subjects in dark clothing. I put them in like a darker pen. They start moving in. I deducted a political event.
All right. And then you had those energetics. You kept investigating those, I see. So what did you get for the cause of those energetics?
It felt like a box type object. I'm seeing great colors. There's light flickering on it. It looks kind of small. It contains electronic parts. This object was concealed somehow within this environment. It feels like it was under the surface or under an object, but it was concealed on the surface. I deducted a bomb. And there's a sketch of that little object thing. Yeah. As I continue, just like, how did it get here? I felt like this object was placed here at night because the environment looks dark. I probed into the subjects that placed it, and I got this image of these subjects dressed in dark clothing. They're mostly male. Their skin tone varies, but mostly light hues. And they're not many, but they kind of like jump out of a car, and then some of them go and like place it on the ground somewhere. And then I did a collective deep mind probe of these subjects, and I could pick up very high energy, high emotions. The subjects, they seek disruption. They feel like they need to do this and they're in the right. Something feels like poison or toxin in their minds or in their thinking. Overall sense of vitriol. They seek a certain result or an end to something happening.
All right, so then you moved on to focus 2. What did you start getting at focus 2?
At focus 2, my very first perception was a sense of airiness, like this is up in the sky in a tall structure or a non-surface structure. And then I concluded a non-surface structure because I just couldn't feel a base with few subjects inside. And then I drew that non-surface structure. But I moved to the base surface immediately after on focus 2. And the base surface looked like an urban environment with somewhat tall structures, lots of subjects and activity by the subjects here. The activity and the energy of the subjects feels erratic and chaotic, wild and unhinged, as you can see in my sketch. Like these subjects are going crazy, and the immediate environment looks like it's had some damage. Okay, I moved to the target event for focus 2. Here I'm perceiving a few subjects standing in a line, looks like a wall. Looks like they're by a wall, inside of a structure, various other subjects walking around. The subjects standing in a line seem to be wearing either casual or business casual attire. Subjects walking around are dressed in formal attire. Then I moved to the source of the chaos, the cause of the chaos. The subjects here are reacting to something that happened at a certain location. They seem to want their displeasure to be known and understood. These subjects feel like their voices aren't heard. Their anger feels directed towards a group of subjects at a central location. Those subjects feel like they're in a position of power. The subjects here are attempting to exercise control I sense this anger coming from a loss of something, like a person, or a loss of a person or a privilege. But that group of anger,
I see you named them. You named this group Y.
Yeah, I said group of anger. That doesn't make any sense. The group of subjects, those I called group Y.
Okay. All right. So what did you get then when you were probing group Y?
So I got that these subjects are well dressed. They look formal or wealthy because of just their general appearance. I was picking up light skin tone and mostly male subjects. Their surroundings look like a large structure with white hues. Quite a nice setting. I can see like a land-water interface nearby. The overall surrounding looks wealthy, but seems separate or exclusive from the rest of the urban area. And then I deducted a mansion. So I probed for, is subject X here? And the answer I got was yes, nearby here.
All right. And then you kept going with the target event for focus 2. So what did you start getting there?
So here I got the presence of group Y at this target event. I'm also seeing subjects in uniform. The subjects are walking or moving about. It feels like group Y subjects are being led by uniformed subjects or walking alongside them. There's a nearby crowd at the perimeter of this location and loud sounds are coming from them. Group Y subjects enter into vehicles with the uniformed subject and leave this location. So I deducted an arrest. And then I probed for subject X, and subject X looks a little disheveled and unkempt. His hair seems messy, his clothing is a bit out of place, still wearing formal clothing, but his tie is like wobbly and his shirt is untucked. So I kept probing subject X. His facial features look like he isn't happy or he's quite grumpy. His mental state feels like he's depressed and quite concerned for his overall well-being. Probing for the cause of this, I get that subject X and his group feel like there's a fall from grace moment. Whatever status and control they exercise feels like it's been lost. Subjects seem to have been discovered doing something they shouldn't have, or it feels like they were abusing their power or status to push their group forward. Here's a sketch of that. Subjects leading group Y. They look uniformed. Clothing looks the same. They're holding objects. I think I saw headgear. So here's members of group Y being led. Doing a collective deep mind probe of these uniformed subjects, I felt that they have a hard mental scape or they're unfazed. They're quite disciplined or meticulous in how they move and act. Feels like they're doing their job by being here.
All right. And then you got to a timeline. On the left-hand side, you had beta, and the right-hand side, you had chi. And then you had focus 1 and focus 2. So tell us what about where you found focus 1 and focus 2 on this timeline.
So starting from beta, moving along that timeline, I immediately hit focus 1, not too far from it. And then towards the center of beta and chi is where I felt focus 2.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. Really, really fantastic session. Would you like to know the target?
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. So the target for this deep news is assassination attempts on Donald Trump in the future. So not the previous ones that have already happened, but future ones that may potentially happen. And we're expecting, of course, that these are things that we are surveying from multiple timelines and they're not going to come to pass, partially, potentially, just because we're doing a remote viewing session of them. So people who do watch this, who may be in the position to stop such things, would be able to stop such things. And also because a lot of the times there are people involved in advanced military and intelligence agencies, and they stop threats all the time. And those things we, as the common people, never hear about in the news. And this is stuff that stuff like this, disasters are avoided very regularly because people stop all sorts of terror attacks and all sorts of violent attacks that these intelligence agencies basically intervene in on. So and when I say intelligence agencies, I don't really know a specific one, but I do know that there are a lot of people who do a lot of work in stopping tragic events that affect people of importance in politics, government, all sorts of things. So I'm expecting that these things will not come to pass, but this is a good session for us to realize what type of things are people stopping, and well, hopefully none of these violent events come to pass. But time will tell. And let me just hand you over this session, or this target reveal sheet. So basically, at Focus 1, that was the first next assassination attempt to be made on Donald Trump after January 1st, 2025. And Focus 2 is the second next assassination attempt to be made on Donald Trump after January 1st, 2025. And so you basically had Focus 2 happening about midway through the year. And the reason why I say the year is because your last page, which was the timeline between Beta and Chi, Beta represented January 2025, and Chi represented December of 2025. And right now we're recording this Christmas Eve, so it's December 2024. So yeah, that's basically what the session was detailing. Any questions or thoughts or comments?
Well, I think this is a solid target to explore. It's happened twice. It's likely going to happen again. The amount of presidential assassinations is pretty crazy. That's a high-risk job, especially at times like these, especially for a character like Donald Trump. So I think this is a good target to do. Yeah, my Focus 1, it looked like his inauguration. I think I deducted that.
Yeah, you had a lot of very American-sounding environments. You described him as a light hues hair and light hues skinned, formal-attired, older-looking male subject. Very accurate, verifiable description of the subject X. And yeah, I mean, it seemed very acceptable from a blind perspective that, wow, you're getting some solid perceptions of what we can verify as a likely environment and a likely description of the target subject. So it was very interesting. You had the event of chaos and damage seemed to be a general destructive event in your Focus 1. Focus 2 seemed a little more focused on him, as you saw him sort of being detained and disheveled in that sort of event. So really interesting stuff. I mean, it's obvious that there is a lot of agendas are at stake with the shift in power in the United States recently, and let's see what happens with the year 2025. I just think 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for the whole world, and especially for whatever happens with the drama of the next season of America.
On the next season of America. Woo, buckle up, everyone. Cool.
Yeah. So even if none of these things happen, I think, which I'm hoping none of these things happen, I'm thinking this is a good target for us to get some insight in the type of stuff that people do prevent. Because you have to remember, with the last assassination attempt, that did not come to pass, but there was an attempt at shooting him at a golf course, I think. And so there's if we were doing this session earlier, we might have actually seen a perception of an event like that that would have taken place, and then the real life equivalent would have been that event being stopped. So and those are things that we're lucky enough to just have any awareness of because the mainstream media got wind of it and decided to report it. So these things may be things that attempt to happen, don't happen, and the mainstream media does not get wind of, because that happens quite often. And we needed the remote viewing session to try to get a sense of this type of activity happening behind the scenes. And yeah, depending on what sort of information circles you're in, you have there are plenty of people who have understandings of assassination attempts that are not reported in the mainstream media that happened years ago, actually in the previous time he was president. So anyway, I won't go too much into any of that, but this was a really great remote viewing session. The verifiables were all there, And yeah, any last concluding questions or comments?
No, it's interesting.
It's very interesting. So yeah, thank you so much, Intysam, and thank you everybody else for watching.